Hey, what's up, guys? It's Charlie with CompetitiveEdgeProducts.com. I'm really excited about this video. It took a long time to make this, so it's kind of a long video, but I've been excited to make a video that shows the complete Flexbow package. Whether it's the 10 by 10 or the 10 by 14 you're considering, I'm guessing you want to know everything that you're getting, why it's in there, and what the features are, how to set it up, all the details. So it's kind of a long video, but I think it's going to be great. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the ground tarp. And the ground tarp that you get is actually nicer than this one that you're seeing in this demo. And I'm going to tell you what the differences are. And of course, we're going to talk about the tent, what the features are, how easy it is to set it up with one person. And I've been dying to get my hands on the cover top. At the time of this video, the cover top is the newest item released by Kodiak, and I was just really excited to test this out. I'm going to tell you what I love about it. You're going to see me assemble it and make a mistake, and I'm going to show you how to put it up properly. And then this commonly mispronounced item, the vestibule, is definitely a must. You can call it a privacy porch if you want to, but we're going to stage this and set this up so you can see just how big it is, what the features are, and how the privacy that it gives you. And then the floor liner, last but not least, this is canvas just like the roof of the tent, so it's waterproof. It can be used as a floor liner. People seem to really love this. It really does a great job at protecting the floor from the inside, keeps it clean, makes it a nice, pleasant experience when you're walking around. And there's a little bonus video blip about the quilt set. The quilt set is so cool. It's my favorite. I own several of the sleeping bags, but the quilt set has won me over, and I'm going to show you why. But first, let's get started. Let's put down this ground tarp, and this goes on the ground underneath your tent, not inside. You can put one inside if you want, but it goes underneath. It's a really nice, thick 11 mil versus the 9 mil is the one I'm actually showing in there, but this one's 11 mil, and it has grommets, aluminum grommets around the perimeter as well. So we're going to roll the tent body out, and this is the first time this tent has been set up. And you're going to want to place the awning towards the front. And the awning, you'll see a picture of the awning here in a minute, but it's kind of the sage color, olive color flap that's going to be in the front. There's a door on the front and the back, but you want the awning on the front. And one thing that makes Kodiak tent so rigid is that it's staked down with 18 stakes. They're 12 inches long, they're steel rod, they're not going to rust, and it comes with a storage bag for them. Are you really going to need all 18? Probably not. I rarely put all 18 up, but you'll want most of them. And I'm going to put them all up in the demo so you can see where they go. And then you have two. You're going to set these aside. These go with the awning in the front. And the first thing we're going to do is stake down the four corners. So make sure you use a rubber mallet or something that's not going to damage the tent if you miss. And basically you do all the corners and you pull from the center, but not too tight. If you pull it too tight, it doesn't look as good. Give it a little bit of room, but not a lot. So just whatever you can kind of tug on. And just like this. That's about as tight as you need. Just doesn't need to be ultra tight, or everything is kind of tugging on itself a little bit too tightly. We're going to put all the remaining stakes in just a minute, but the next thing I'm going to do is open the accessory box that it comes with if you order the total bundle. It comes with the cover top, as you can see here. And it has its own bag, but that's what it looks like when you open the box. And then bundled in with that is the floor liner. And we'll demo the floor liner in a bit. But the reason we're paying attention to the cover top is because you don't set the tent up and then put the cover top up. You put the cover top up at the same time that you assemble your roof. So we're gonna put the flex rods in and the T-poles in, and then we're gonna put this cover top on top of that before we actually raise the tent up. And when we pull this out of the bag, you're going to see that it's pretty simple. There's just the cover top is one piece, and then there's two guy ropes. And this material it's watertight, it blocks light, it's totally opaque, meaning light will not pass through this material, so it makes it a little bit darker inside the tent, which a lot of people like. And that helps keep it cooler in hot weather and keeps the top of the roof clean. So we're going to assemble the roof. We're going to take the T-posts first, or the T-poles, whatever you want to call them, and we're going to put the convex side down. We're going to grab the 4 spring rods, and these are heavy duty steel. You will actually, if you bend these far enough to the point where they fail, you would actually probably break the T-pole before you'd break these. They're really strong. So it comes with 4 of these. We're going to slide them in the sleeves. You can see that there's a rubber tip on them. We're going to slide that end first through the sleeve on the left side and on the right side. And I'm going to attempt to do most of the assembly of this tent and the accessories myself, with the exception of the cover top. It did take 2 people. But you take the T-poles, and it doesn't matter which one. If this is on the other side, doesn't matter. But you take the convex side that's got that bump, and you put that down so that you just have the 2 square windows showing. And those square windows are designed so that you can see in them and make sure that those flex rods are inserted all the way. If you don't insert them all the way, it could actually break the T-post. So just look through there. If you don't see black like you see on that right one, then slide the flex rod all the way in until it's obvious that it can't go in anymore. And these are pretty flexible, and they serve a really important function with the tent in allowing it to, well, basically be flexible if you're getting hit by a bad storm. If you've got a heavy snow load on top, like, they are designed to give and ebb and flow and bounce back into place. So this is the other side. We're going to do the same thing. Put the convex side of that T-post that just rolled over. We're going to put that, got to turn that back over so that side's down. Insert the flex rods in. Check through the windows of it to make sure they're in all the way. And this next step's really important. It's super easy to do, but you just take the side that has the screw, and it goes into the concave side that you can see in the picture. But when you push these 2 together, make sure when you're pressing that the T parts of the poles on the end that you don't see in this picture are spread out so that you're not catching on the canvas and damaging anything. But basically, this part, you've got a sleeve that's already on that T pole, and you slide it over towards my left hand. There is a little stopper, and as soon as you hit that stopper, at the same time, there's a push pin on the right that clicks into place. So that sleeve is now held into place. So I'm just going to tighten up those ends, make those look nice, and then we are ready to put the cover top on. I really tried my hardest to put this on myself, and I just couldn't do it. I was close, but I just wasn't strong enough. So thank you to my son, Bridger, who is filming this. He stepped in to help me. But it's really easy. It's really intuitive. And what you do is you take those flex rods and you bend them into the 4 receiving ends, the 4 corners of that cover top. And that part's not hard. The actual pulling it down. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I'm going to insert the flex rods. And like I said, it takes a little bit of strength to kind of bend those in. But the part that I needed 2 people was after these flex rods were in, now you take the top of the cover top and you pull it over those flex, the bow shape right there. And so I almost had it by myself. I was close, but anyways, I gave up and I just had him jump in. So if you've got someone you're camping with, the cover top shouldn't be difficult to put on. Everything else you can put on, you can put up yourself without any trouble. And once you pull it down over the bowed part, it doesn't look like, it fits like a glove. It's perfect. It doesn't look like it's too tight or feel like it's too tight. It looks like it's just perfect. So this is another tent that I had in my backyard, a 2-man tent that I was demoing. That's the top of it after a few days, which is one good reason to use a cover top if you're going to be in an area that has lots of birds or sap, or you just want to keep out some of the sunlight and the morning dew off of it. All right, now let's raise the roof on this. We've got 2 poles, and they are heavy duty. They're what make it a 4-season tent. They're 1-inch galvanized steel, and they're connected with a wire. So when you put it together like this, it just kind of snaps together. And they're identical. One will go on the left, one will go on the right. And you have to make sure you put the convex part of the T-pole. It goes into the upright pole. But you have to make sure when you're using this cover top, and when you lift it up and put the pole underneath to put it on the convex part of that right there, the bump, don't pinch the cover top material in there, because it's easy to do, and I did that and it almost snagged. So make sure make sure it's not pinching that that cover top part. So the newer design, it's been a few years, but the newer design, you've got this metal loop that is bent. It stands upwards so that one person can lift this up and rest the pole right on top of that stake loop. Now that's pretty easy, but I know a lot of people that may not have a lot of arm strength, and not that I have a lot of arm strength. In fact, I'm going to show you my cheat, because you'll see that I struggle with it a little bit. But when you set these up the first time, it can be a little bit tight. So notice as I try and put this one, the first one's always easier because there's not as much tension, but this second one was a little bit more difficult for me. I could lift up the pole, but trying to get it exactly over that, look, the tent roof would move up and then it would pull up on that loop. So what you do is you take this stake, and I could have done this with the first one, probably should have done that with the first one, because these are supposed to be staked anyways, but stake that thing down, it'll hold it into place, and then you can lift the pole and go right over the stake loop like this. And you'll notice in a moment we need those stakes for another reason. If you're not using the cover top, you might not even have to put them in if you don't want to, but the cover top has those 2 guy ropes that are going to attach to that in a moment. But so you put that on, and then you've got this beautiful tent. It is looking like a tent now. And while I'm in pounding mode, I'm just going to pound in these remaining stakes around the perimeter. And again, you want to use a rubber mallet. In one of these, I think right there, you see that I missed and I hit the nylon loop. If you whack that nylon loop too hard, I've seen it happen with people, like especially with a hammer, it can tear it. Like, it has to be pretty hard. But if you're hammering something into, like, clay, it can require that you pound it pretty good. So let me show you a cheat that I have, and there's a link to this in the description. But I wanted to show you something that a lot of people use at festivals and stuff, like Burning Man. Speaking of clay, if you're going to be in clay, you can just drive it in with the driver instead of pounding it in. Pounding it in didn't take long in this. The driver didn't win by much, but pulling it out was a different story. This one, the stakes are not usually this difficult to pull out. This was a bad example because it probably took me 3 times longer to pull out this stake than it normally does. But the best way I've found to pull out the stakes is to use another stake. So after you get one stake out, just use it for leverage, and then you can pop the rest out, especially if you're pulling it out in the exact direction and angle that it went in, and then it goes out easier. Okay, so at this point you've got 4 guy ropes lying around. 2 are for the awning for the tent, and 2 are for the cover top. The cover top uses the smaller ones. So they're significantly smaller because they don't need to go very far. They just go right down that pole, and then you attach it to the stake that's at the bottom. So in this one, I put the stake out slightly because I wanted to see if it would make any difference, and it really didn't. But you can see that you can get some airflow underneath this. It's not like it's just resting right on top of the tent, which is nice because you want that airflow to allow things to dry and for some ventilation. But we do the same thing with the other side. Grab the small rope. You see, I messed up and I used the long rope. That's how I figured out that they were different sizes. But put the smaller rope in. I always just do a slip knot on all of these guy ropes that you see me ever do. I just do a simple slip knot, and it holds in really well. And then you just attach the guy rope at the bottom, and sometimes people are like, what is the black thing? How does it attach? I don't see how that works, but you basically just take the mouth of it and put the rope in, and it holds itself. But you can see that you've got some awesome airflow underneath this, and you've got other guy ropes. If you're in a bad storm or something like that and you need some extra reinforcements, use those other grommets and tie it down, stake it down. And there's many functions for that cover top, but I think people mostly get it to help keep the temperature of the tent down and to keep the top clean. Okay, so setting up the awning, these are the last two poles that you should have out right now, and they are the awning poles, and they have these spikes on them. And just like the upright poles, they have a wire that holds them together where it snaps together and just, they just become one solid pole basically. But those are going to attach to the guy rope. So I like to stake out, and I always end up moving these stakes, but if I'm going to set this up by myself, I just pound two stakes out kind of kitty corner away from where I imagine the awning will be once it's out. So you take the grommet that's in the corner of the awning, you take that upright pole that has that spike on it, attach a guy rope. Again, I use a slip knot. And then we're going to take that guy rope and attach it to the stake that I pounded that's kind of kitty corner out there. You don't need to pull it super tight, but just enough to hold this up, because I'm going to show you how to make your awning look really nice in just a minute. But if you're setting this, if you've got two people, it's so much easier, because you don't even need to put those stakes down yet. You just have somebody hold the upright pole up, and then you take the rope and the stake, and you just go out from kitty corner from the center of the awning itself. So when you set it up like this, you can see that it's kind of sagging. Sagging's great. If it's going to rain, make it sag like this so that you can control where the rain goes, or just kick one of the poles so it's slightly downwards so that it, just finds its way and drips down the pole. But what you want to do, if you want to make it look nice and tight, you pull it directly kitty corner from the center or the other corner of the opposite corner of the awning where it attaches to the tent itself, and then it'll look nice and taut. And you just put those upright poles straight up, and you're in business with the awning. Well, what do you think? It's not too bad, right? I'm 5'10". It's brushing up against my head, so it's not something I would find myself hanging out underneath, standing under, but certainly could put a camp chair underneath it and some stuff. And we'll talk more about the awning when we have the vestibule up and some of the value of that awning here in just a moment. And it can be easily taken down just by removing those poles. Okay, next, the canvas floor liner, one of my favorite things to talk about. Honestly, when the floor liner first came out, I was a little bit skeptical. I just thought people aren't going to want this, but you can think of it kind of as like a carpet. It's canvas. It's the same weight, the same 10-ounce weight that the roof is made of. So it's the heaviest part of canvas that the tent has. And you'll see, it's nice and thick. Could you roll this up with your tent? You probably could. You probably could if you make it nice and tight. I've certainly done it on the 10x10. I don't see why it wouldn't work on the 10x14. But having used the floor liner now for years and years, probably 6 or 7 years now, I am definitely converted to it. I was skeptical of it in the first place, but and it doesn't have to be this floor liner. If you have your own carpet or something that you want to put on that, you can. But you can see it's waterproof. It can be used for other things too. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Charlie, it's white. Why would you ever make one that's white? And you can see after 100 days in this demo, the one on the left, it did definitely start to get dirty. But look at how it protected the floor so well. After 4 months, the floor still looked beautiful and brand new. So it definitely serves a purpose. If it gets dirty, you can spray it off, and it will get dirty if you're camping quite a bit. But let's move on to the vestibule assembly. The vestibule assembly is pretty easy. Probably get the most calls on the vestibule assembly because I think the instructions are probably going to be improved at some point, but I don't think it makes it really obvious where the stakes go and exactly how you put this up. So I'm going to tell you how to set this up and what sometimes what people do wrong. Now you'll notice that those stakes were a lot smaller than the stakes that hold the tent down. And the reason is if you go hiking or something and you come back and there was a microburst, you want that vestibule to pull out of the ground and flap around instead of yank against your tent really hard. So they're designed to kind of pull out in a worst case scenario. Now this pole, I would keep that pole with your poles for the tent always and forever. It is so cool. Even if you're not setting up the vestibule, you're going to want to use that pole and use it to connect those two awning poles and make your awning even more tight and secure. So here's the body, the vestibule canvas body, and these are the instructions for it. And I'll save you a little bit of time. It is going to talk about adding grommets, which I'm not going to do in this video. There's a link to it in the description if you want to add extra grommets. I'm not super convinced that it needs it, but I'll show you why some people do want it. This is the side that goes towards the tent. You can see you got the grommet there, and you've got Velcro straps along the edge, and then a grommet on the other end. So as you can see here, it's pretty simple. You just attach these poles with the awning and the vestibule at the same time. Again, I'm doing it solo, so you can see that one person can do it. If there was somebody else there that was just holding this up, it'd go a little bit faster. But you can see the pole, the horizontal pole has that thumb screw. That thumb screw, you want that pointing down. But you attach the guy rope. I'm attaching the guy rope to hold this up so I can continue assembly on the right side. But I attach the guy rope using a slip knot, and then just to a stake that I'm going to move here in a moment, but you can stake it down to pretty much anywhere that's kind of diagonal. And then once that's tight, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to take that horizontal vestibule pole, and I'm going to loosen the thumb screw, and I'm going to telescope this out. I'm fighting this. It wasn't easy for me to pull this out, so I did take some pliers, and I do bring pliers with my rubber mallet to pull that, and it came out so easily. I feel like I could have got it out, but anyway, I had the pliers, so I used them. And you do the same thing on the other side. It goes upright pole, vestibule pole, and then the vestibule material, and then the awning material right here. The awning goes on last right there. And I'll show you why here in a minute. So let's talk about the grommets, adding grommets. As you do up these Velcro straps, you'll see that where the awning meets the vestibule, you can sometimes see a little bit of daylight through that. And sometimes people are like, well, I don't want to get any rain through that. Most people think, well, this sides of this are wide open. If it's going to storm, it's going to storm. So I'm not adding the grommets. But I encourage you to take a look at the link in the video that shows you how to add grommets if you choose to, and you can decide for yourself. But I'd set it up if I were you first without adding grommets, and you see for yourself if you need them. So when you set this up, one common mistake is people will put those poles, they won't put them upright, they'll slope them backwards, and it just does not fit. So rule of thumb, just keep the awning poles upright, and then you'll still slope the vestibule itself. You're just going to pull it physically out like this, and then stake the corner. So we're going to stake this corner, and then we're going to stake the side closest to the tent, the part that is kind of the wing that angles down. And you can pull this out if you want to. You can make it go straight. There's a little bit of wiggle room, but the 5 stakes go here, one on the 4 cornered areas. So this would be stake number 3. And stake number 4 will go on the left side, right there, and you can see everything coming together looking good. And see how I pull that out. I decide I want more space underneath that, so I pull it out as far outwards as I can. And then the 5th stake stakes a guy rope to the center grommet right here. I used one of the 12-inch stakes though, because the soil that I was pounding that little stake in, it kept coming back out. So you can see it does overlap because you have that guy rope through that center grommet. But if you want the extra 4-inch overlap, you can add grommets to the awning, not to the vestibule, but to the awning as shown in the link in the instructions. Most people don't do that. I think once you set it up yourself, you'll realize you probably don't need to do that either. But a lot of people modify their tents in interesting ways and have a lot of fun with that. Awesome. So this is a canvas porch, and you can see how spacious it is. It allows for some privacy. You can throw a cooler in there, which we usually do, or stoves, something we kind of don't want people to see or walk away with. Um, but it also gives you just some privacy if you're in a crowded campground. It serves a lot of functions, but it's really nice and roomy, and you can fit several camp chairs there. If you're getting light rain, you're not going to get any coming out the sides, and it will still keep your stuff dry. Keeps it dry for the most part from morning dew as well. Okay, now if you're looking at the VX bundling options where you've got those triangular windows, you get all these organization features as well. So you've got the pocket organizer right there at the top. You got the bag organizer that I don't like to put right there. Some people will put it there, but there's like a lot of space between that and the window. So I never leave that there. I always unhook that and put it somewhere else in the tent. You can put it by the entrance of the tent. In this case is on the left of the video there. But there is a door on both sides, so it could come in handy for either side. But it just uses these clips that are in the ceiling and holds in place really well. In fact, I'll show you if you want to throw something in like a jacket that you want by the entrance, and you know you're walking out and you want your jacket, you can keep it there, keep it off the floor, just kind of keep things organized. You can put in flashlights, contact lenses, glasses, maps, electronic devices, you name it. And the next feature of organization is to use the gear loft. It comes with a gear loft, and you can use it as a loft. I like to use it in sling mode, and I'll show you both. First, let's do the loft mode. And the loft mode, it attaches again to these loops that are already sewn into the seams of the ceiling. And it is nice and tight, not too tight though. And by the way, you don't even have to take it off when you break camp. You can just leave it where it's at and set your tent up, and it'll be there again. But you can see if I throw my jacket up here, not too bad. You can fit some stuff on there. Let me show you sling mode though. I think the reason I prefer sling mode is probably because my kids will often just jump up and pull down jackets or throw stuff up, and it ends up on the floor anyways. So if you do it in a sling mode, you kind of have a little bit more control with your gear and keeping it in place. So sling mode is basically you connect both ends to the same loop, and then you just use it like a sling. It's almost like, a little hammock up there. So works really, really well. And you can put it on this end of the tent or the opposite end. It does not have to be on this end. I put it on this end because I didn't want it to be by the front door. Another new item that Kodiak has recently come out with is the Quilt Set, meaning there is a top and there is a bottom. And sometimes people don't like sleeping bags. They don't want zippers. They just want blankets, but they want quality ones. These canvas ones are so nice. This is the bottom. You can see it's about 36, 37 inches wide. And I mean, you can stretch it out further, but with the stuffing, it's about 36 inches wide. But look how much bigger the top is, the actual quilt, and this is my favorite part about it, is you don't have this tiny blanket on top of you. You've got this one that is so big, as you can see in this photo here, that it actually touches the floor on both sides. So you have plenty to, really keep you warm and to pull in, and it comes with its own bag as well, of course. So link to that in the description if you're interested. So what do you think so far? It looks pretty good, right? I think one of the benefits of having the complete bundle is that it just includes everything that you need. You've got the vestibule, you've got the awning, you've got that a lot of privacy right there. The accessories are often discounted and cheaper when it's done in a bundle package because, like you saw, the floor liner and the cover top can be shipped in the same box, so it saves quite a bit when it's all bundled together. And it includes about everything except there are other accessories that they make, like this camp chair. There's 2 different camp chairs that they make, and they're canvas, and they're really nice. And then there's other various sizes of sleeping bags and like the quilt that I just showed you. But when you've got the right gear, man, camping just goes so much better. It can be a great experience. Nothing's worse than feeling like you don't have the gear that you need for your hunting trip, or for Burning Man or your family get together, it's nice to have something that feels more like a shelter and not just a tent that can literally keep you dry from torrential downpours. And like I said, this is my first experience with the cover top, so I was really impressed with that. I was just really worried that it was just something that was just going to lay against the tent, like a tarp that's thrown over it. But I love how it utilizes the poles and that it's nice and tight enough that there's actually space between it and the tent. Now the center of it will touch the tent, but it is a polyvinyl blend. So, and it almost looks like it has a reflective material. It probably doesn't officially, but does have just a tinier, more of a bit of a gray tint and a bit of a reflective property when the sun's shining on it directly. Okay, let's talk about tent features. So there's no-seam mesh windows, and they're designed to keep out the tiny no-seam bugs. And you've got 6 large windows in here, and you've got heavy-duty zippers. If you're into zippers, you know how important it is to have a quality zipper that you can zip and unzip thousands of times over the life of a product. And the doors, which are used the most, coming in and out constantly, those have even better zippers that are YKK number 10. And if you're into zippers, you'll know what that means, but it means it's like luggage quality zippers. So they're really, really good. There's loops conveniently placed all around the perimeter of the roof so that you can hang an LED lantern, be creative with what you do. You don't feel claustrophobic in this, at least I don't. I'm 5'10", and there's plenty of room in this with the 7.5-foot ceiling. Here's a better shot of the gear loft in Sling mode, and I just have the Quilt Set bag in there. But like I said, you can put all sorts of different things inside to keep yourself organized when you're camping and know where everything is when you need it. Now with these triangular windows behind me, this is the VX version. The bundle option also comes in a deluxe and a basic. So sometimes people get worried with the deluxe, you have the airflow vents at the top. With the VX, you don't, but you do have these large triangular windows. And I try and explain to people that even if you're getting rained on, look at what you can do with the top corner. You've even got the cover top there that helps protect it as well. But you can, in even pretty decent storms, you can usually crack open the top of this. It's got dual zippers, so you can control how much of this window you want open, or you can zip it all the way closed, but you can allow for airflow just as much or little as you want. Now, another cool organizational feature is the sewn-in pouches that you have under the back and the front window. So often people have lots of sleeping bags around, and so you want to just be able to reach up and put something away without needing to stand up. And so that's what those are really good for. So you've got the nice heavy-duty 16-ounce vinyl floor. It's got welded seams. It's waterproof. You're not going to get it can feel like a water bed underneath it, and you're still not going to get water inside your tent. So it's really nice. But in addition to the hanging storage bags, you've got all these really quality features that have a lifetime warranty on them. And one thing I think it's important to note on the VX and the Deluxe model, not the Basic, the doors also function as windows. So you can see I've rolled up the window. I've unrolled the window there so that we can get ventilation through this, and it also functions as a door. But you can see there's a little rain flap there as well, which I think is perfect for running a low voltage power cord through that. And you've got the dual zippers so it can tighten around that cord. And the large doors, they're so large that you can actually take a cot that's already put up and just walk it through the door. And then, like I mentioned, zip it up, zip it closed constantly. You shouldn't have any issues. Those YKK zippers are the real deal. And just like on the back window, on the front window, underneath the front door, you also have that rain flap as well. But nice thing about all of the windows is they all have dual zippers. So you can zip them up all the way, zip them down if you just need a little bit of ventilation, a little bit of light coming through. And you can roll them up, or you can just tuck them towards the mesh part of the window. And one thing I want to point out is that even though you've got these zippers with all these windows, you can see that there's canvas that covers it by 2 or 3 inches. So you're not going to get any rain in. So how many people can you fit in the 10 by 14? It's advertised as 8. And if you've got 8 people and they're using sleeping bags, that's one thing. If you've got a bunch of large cots, let me just show you, for example, even with 2 large 37-inch cots, there's still a lot of space. So I'm taking this video through the actual window so you can see. But look at the area in the center. You still have a lot of room there. If it's just 2 people, sometimes the 10 by 14 is considered to be a bit spacey for that, and they go with the 10 by 10. But you know, it's however much gear you want, however much time you spend out, and what makes you comfortable. Well, I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, if you can do me a favor and hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. But the nice thing about this particular bundle package is that it comes in the 10 by 10 and the 10 by 14, and both of those tents have 3 different options, from basic, deluxe, and then the deluxe VX, like you see here with the triangular windows. This is the 10 by 14 package. If you have any questions, please comment below. I'm sure I've missed something, but we want to make sure you have a happy camping experience, that you have everything you need, that you stay warm and dry. Thanks for watching.